Well, good evening, everyone. Sorry to be a little bit late. I was actually running late, and E-Train was trying to get on, was having some issues. So, apologize for the delay in joining you, but hope everyone's had a good Tuesday. Uh, it's it's good to be with you. And
Sorry,
E-Train,
guys.
good to see
I'm
you
still
back.
trying. You too, still trying to get everything working right. Sorry, I don't know why it's being such a pain in the butt kiss today,
Is it X or
but I'm working
Rumble?
on it. It's all the. I don't know if it's internet. I've actually got a connection straight into the. I guess you call it a router. I don't know what you call it,
Router.
but well, yeah, but it's a router that's going up to the ether, so it's not a hard line router, but I thought it might help.
Okay. Well, we hope so, but good to see you back on.
Thank you. Hey, Melissa.
Hello, Melissa. How you doing? Hope everything
So
is
did
going well in sunny California.
absolutely. Did Clay, did you happen to catch any of the dragon um landing, or what do
I
you
have
call it?
not. I have literally been in meetings
Deliberating.
all day and this evening, and have just been completely out of touch and obviously running late. So I'm a little bit clueless what's going on in the world this afternoon.
Well, they finally let oh gosh, I'm sorry. I'm a little laggy. They finally let Elon go and capture the astronauts. They landed today. They've come
Yes,
out
I
of the
knew that.
capsule. They're going for medical. Yeah, that just happened, which is kind of cool.
Well,
Um,
now remember,
Beautiful weather today. It has been.
it has been a pretty day here.
Go ahead.
Remember, the astronauts were up 8 months. Um, SpaceX
Yep.
had a contract to go rescue them when Boeing was unable to complete the job, and then it was canceled.
And Joe Biden said no.
Yeah. He never gave a real good reason, but the astronauts were up there stranded for 8 months until SpaceX, finally got the go ahead a month ago. And so they
Yep.
scheduled the launch, went up there and got them. I'm glad they got back safe. I know the astronauts are glad to be back
Yeah. Okay.
on land.
Oh, the smiles on their faces were just like, thank God we're home.
Yeah, they were up there a year. Uh,
Almost. Yeah.
they it was only supposed to be 3 months, but they were up there nearly a year.
Hmm.
And at least the rescue vehicle didn't
Yes.
explode. That brings to mind the
Right.
Challenger. I still vividly
Hmm.
remember the Challenger. So,
I do too. I was in fourth grade.
and SpaceX has really gotten to be fairly reliable. They put how many hundreds uh, of satellites and all up? They did have one blow up. Was it 2 weeks ago? Never saw a good reason
I
why.
don't know.
But, anytime you're dealing with a million gallons of highly explosive fuel, fluid, electronics, big
Hmm.
flames, a controlled explosion, hopefully controlled explosion,
Right.
there's obviously things that can go wrong. We
And
lost,
well,
what was it, 11 or 13 astronauts in the Apollo program.
I don't know.
Um, space is a dangerous business. It is. It takes a rare kind of person to be willing to give it a shot. I saw where
Absolutely.
I saw where SpaceX is giving away a free trip to Mars if somebody can predict the NCAA bracket completely.
Oh,
And
geez.
I was thinking, would I really want to go to Mars? I mean, that's a 2-year trip.
Well, if you didn't watch the verdict with Ted Cruz this week, he was talking about, or Elon was saying, he was asked a question, would he want to live on Mars? He said, yes. They said, do you want to die on Mars? And he said, not on touchdown.
Yeah. Good answer.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't be
If you
as
guys have any
particular.
questions, oh,
Go ahead. It is
if
Tuesday
you
night
guys have any,
Q&A.
if you guys, yes, if you guys have any questions, so I'm out there. I am watching Rumble, X, and YouTube. So throw them out there and we will be glad to answer them. We've got a few things to talk about if you guys don't have questions. And if you have questions about what we do talk about, feel free to ask those because that's what we're here for.
This is really kind of designed to be y'all's night. So it's just kind of an open forum. Don't really have anything planned. Obviously, I literally just walked in the door. I filled my water cup and fired up the computer. So it's an open forum. We'll cover most anything within reason. And, you know, we actually get a couple questions mailed in or asked every once in a while.
As long as
Hey,
it's not
Jane,
illegal,
how are you doing?
we'll cover it. Hey there, Jane, our favorite co-host.
Yeah, Jane and Melissa are longtime members of the family, and
Jane fills
it
in every
is
now and then when one of us can't
she
do it.
she has stepped in, and she is our resident herbologist. Melissa is our resident
Pugologist.
pugologist. I was trying to think of a term, pugologist. Melissa actually has a little website, Love Pug Circus. So if you're interested in anything or everything pugs, that's the place to start.
Yes, it is.
And she's got a Instagram, Love Pug Circus, as well. So check it out. Pugologist.
See?
It's
a pugologist.
If you are watching the show, just chip in and say, hey, let us know that you're here. We'd love to hear from you.
Hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, do all the things. And this is, I know it's kind of large, but the Amazon.com shop, Moffat on Money, is pretty much everything that we suggest as far as survival or things that we find ourselves to be very useful, helpful, interesting, whatever. Do not be afraid to go to that affiliate link. We would appreciate it. I need to put in the description, don't I? I need to do that.
Yeah, and if there's something that you buy regular, let us know. We'll add it. But we appreciate y'all's support. We appreciate y'all's following the channel. It is kind of a privilege to us, and we are grateful for your support. Now, I mentioned we have on occasion some questions. We got kind of one this week asking about the healthcare system, which I think everybody knows is pretty much a mess. DOGE has been in the news trying to root out some fraudulent claims and processes in Medicare, Medicaid. Was it about a month ago? They found that over the past 15 years, $4.7 trillion has been spent overseas. That was not a proper claim, but the checks are just being written left and right. And it's kind of, bankrupting, undermining the system. So anything they can do to reduce that waste, fraud, corruption, whatever you want to call it. I cheer.
So, Clay,
But
what was the question?
how do we clean up the healthcare mess? And I think it was probably sparked by a brief conversation that Ben Carson had on the Sean Ryan show.
Mhm.
He threw out an idea that basically we would reform the medical system by eliminating the current version of insurance and making broader use of health service accounts in which,
HSAs, if you're
yeah,
not familiar,
HSAs,
or health savings
in which
accounts.
most employers will allow you to put some money aside in these HSAs to pay for your co-payments or some of your medical expenses that come out of your pocket. Well, Carson's idea is to expand this and to even maybe have the government fund them to the tune of $15,000 per person. The thing about HSAs, if you don't spend the money, it rolls over. Unlike some of the other healthcare accounts, if you don't spend it within a year, you lose it. His suggestion, he also, gave a little bit further explanation, not much, but in terms of how this, could replace current insurance. So I guess the best place to start is just start at the beginning. And if you start where healthcare was the first 150, 160 years of this country, up through the 60s, doctors were not rich. Doctors didn't live in upper class enclaves. Doctors were just middle class citizens that lived among their patients. And if their patient was sick, they would go visit the patient. Believe it or not, doctors made house calls. They didn't have an office per se that you had to get to. They would come visit you if you were very sick, unable to move. And it didn't matter whether you were rich or poor. Everybody got the same treatment, the same care. Melissa, I wonder how Luigi feels about that plan.
Luigi Mangione. He killed the United
Oh,
Healthcare
yeah,
CEO.
yeah. I can't keep up. It's been a long day, but a good day, but a long day. So that changed in the 60s. Three things happened. You had the passage of Medicare and Medicaid, which for the first time allowed doctors to get paid treating the poor, whether they were old or just poor. Secondly, Congress passed a law that employers had to provide health insurance to employees.
Why?
That it just ushered in a whole new paradigm.
But where
Doctors,
did insurance come from?
I mean, there was insurance, but people would have only like major medical insurance paying for real expensive medical care. Most everything else they would pay out of their pocket, or the doctor or the hospital would do pro bono. So insurance wasn't near as expansive or available as it is today. It's a huge, huge industry today.
Do you think some of the problem with this, or at least Medicare, is because you and I, were insurance agents, or at least licensed. When you have these people who are doing the DSNPs,
Well,
which is
let me
Medicaid, Medicaid and Medicare, and they're giving like $250 a month to people. I mean, who's paying for
yeah,
that?
let's hold that
Okay,
off.
sorry.
That's one, a
All
little
right.
ahead. Two, let me be clear. I've never been a I've never sold insurance. I did
No, you've
take the
not.
test.
Mhm.
So I was never licensed with any company to sell it. I just took the test. Um, so Medicare, Medicaid started paying for medical, uh, both hospital and doctors for the first time. That's how government got into the business of healthcare. Prior to that, government had literally nothing, federal government had literally nothing to do with healthcare. And keep in mind that during this time, we had the number one healthcare system in the world for rich or for poor. We had the greatest innovation. We had the greatest availability of services. We had the lowest cost. So Medicare, Medicaid. And then the third leg of the triad was employer sponsored health insurance. Now, what all these ended up doing was separating the patient from the practitioner, the patient from the doctor. It inserted an insurance man or a government bureaucrat in the decision making process, to the point where now doctors are told what they can and can't do. If you've been to the doctor's office, you've seen them, they carry around a computer. And as you're telling them your symptoms, your issues, whatever, they're entering it in the computer and checking boxes. And that comes up with a formulary that tells them what the diagnosis is, what the allowed treatment is. That is increasingly taking the healthcare decision making away from the doctor and the patient. Used to be your health was a decision between you and your doctor, and that's it. No
Should be.
middleman. And that's kind of what Carson's point goes back to, is trying to restore that relationship and get the insurance company, get the bureaucrats out of it.
Well, right now, I think it's a huge problem where you have this middleman, this insurance company, approving or rejecting what your doctor and you think is a good plan.
Yeah, they really don't care what you need, want, or what your desires are. They tell you what they will and won't cover, and they prescribe that rigidly to the doctors and to the pharmacies. And even at that, things got dramatically worse in 2010 when Obamacare passed.
Oh God, yeah.
The bureaucracy just blew up. My daughter was working at Cato at the time, and she was assigned the task of going through the 800-page Obamacare bill and building a flow chart of all the new bureaucracies that have been created. There were over 200 new bureaucracies created, administrative offices and departments created with Obamacare. So a already difficult process became far more difficult, far more expensive, far more opaque, far less transparent to the patient, to the point where patients oftentimes really don't get to go to their doctor and even ask a lot of questions. They don't even know what to ask. They just go and take whatever they're given. It's not informed consent.
No.
So I didn't get to hear the first part of it, but I think Carson's idea was you eliminate employer-sponsored insurance.
Not eliminate. If they still want to do it, they can do it. But if they can't afford it or can't do it, then the government will step in and do it for them. Which is the HSA, the $13,500 a year.
Jane, Obamacare was the reason one of the companies I work for closed. Obamacare deemed the testing could only be charged at $99, yet it cost us $165 to run the test. Exactly. Prices are dictated by the government.
That's not right.
Now, I guess my preference, most people know I'm not a fan of big government, extensive government. I look at the three most regulated industries: healthcare, banking, and securities.
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody want to argue those are efficiently run, customer-oriented, transparent industries? Any one of them?
I mean, I could try, but I'd fail.
There's even an interesting kind of lab test in healthcare. We all know what has happened to healthcare cost and bureaucracy and complexity, et cetera. There is one sector of healthcare that has not been impacted, where prices have not changed in 20 years, where there is no high bureaucracy or administrative overhead. There is no middleman. The techniques have improved greatly. The technology's improved greatly. The performance, the availability, that's the best joke I heard since you sounded like Alvin. What joke was that? I don't even know. I'll
He's
never live
tired,
down
y'all.
Alvin.
Nope, never.
But
we can't distract him, y'all. I know, because he is very short focused right now. He's exhausted. Anyway, what's your name?
What was I saying?
I don't know.
See, I'm not the only one. But I was talking about how
if they get us both distracted, we're screwed.
For real. About how Carson wants, Ellen, like Ellen said, Carson wants to give you the option of keeping, employer-sponsored insurance. I would be in favor of eliminating it completely.
No, not insurance.
To reestablish,
just the HSA. Forget the insurance.
No, I'm talking about the insurance right now. Stay with me. I would like to eliminate, I think we ought to eliminate employer-sponsored insurance because it inserts the employer and the insurance company in the decision-making process between you and your doctor. What I would rather see is insurance that only covers major procedures like expensive surgeries, etc. And then maybe the employer, maybe you, maybe the government contributes $15,000 a year to HSA account. You would then pay for your routine medical expenses out of the HSA account.
Mm-hmm.
And anything that was left would roll over. And you, once you reach 65 or 70, if it was over $50,000, you could take that money out to spend on your living expenses or whatever. Then when you die, that money would go to your heirs.
Or wherever you wanted it to go. And you could share it between, like, let's say Uncle Joe has to have a major surgery and he's $500 short. You could take out of your HSA account and contribute to Uncle Joe's surgery so he could pay for it.
Yeah.
And you're also going to want to make sure Uncle Joe isn't smoking any more damn cigarettes because
smoking is bad for you, right, Ellen?
That's what I hear. Hang on. When you're talking about the government running those industries, I just thought it was funny. Oh. That makes sense. And Melissa, good thing Carson isn't here. Yes, and Clay's talking about Ben Carson, not Carson.
Carson, yeah. We have a member that pops in on occasion by the name of Carson from Canada. And he is he has a modest wit to him. So he
Oh, if
keeps
he were
things a
here,
little spicy, a little entertaining.
he'd be tearing us apart. Oh, I know you know. I just didn't know if everyone knew that we weren't talking about the same Carson. Yeah.
So to me, the goal is reduce the bureaucracy. That will greatly reduce the cost. And yes, our Carson is the great distractor. He and E Train are two of the best on the webs anywhere.
Really? You
I
think?
swear. I think.
You thwer? You thwerfer?
But one, reinsert transparency. Reinsert the ability to consult with your doctor. I mean, when I was working in surgery, I worked, next to a surgical assistant. And we were walking down the hall one day and he was telling me about, how things had changed since he had been in the business because he knew I was interested in going to med school. And he recalled a conversation he had with his surgeon, the guy he worked for. And this was after Medicare, Medicaid, started paying for poor, and doctors went to an office setting and started the assembly line in the office because they could really start making money. They could, they could all become multimillionaires. And he was saying, it kind of made me think because one day after we did 4 surgeries, we were, walking down this very hall and the doc turned to me and said, "I paid for you today." And this was back when SAs were making probably 80 a year, which was the average salary back then would be 30, 25,
Can you
30.
say what an SA
SAs,
is?
surgical
Surgical
assistant.
assistant?
Yeah. It's like a physician's assistant, but somebody that's qualified in surgery. And they're the ones who help the doctors with routine visits and follow-ups with the patient, that kind of thing. They are highly trained individuals. They just haven't done the full 4 years of med school, so to speak. They have a 2-year program. So they don't, but they're well trained and well paid, So the doctor basically was making 20 grand per surgery. And this was back, 30, 40 years ago. That's how doctors started becoming multimillionaires. Whereas before they had just been middle-class citizens. They lived among their patients and treated them all with indifference. Now if you don't have good insurance, you can't even get in to see some doctors. Or some doctors don't take Medicare and Medicaid because the reimbursements are low compared to what they could do otherwise with their time. The government has also stepped in and started controlling how med schools. It's extremely difficult to open up a med school. Other professions like, if you've been in the military, you're familiar with medics, or if you were in the corpsmen, Navy medics supplied to Marine companies. These guys are highly trained trauma and have very good clinical skills. But when they get out of the service, they can't do anything with it. And how cool would it be if they could go work for a hospital in the ER, pay them, I don't know, $80,000 today, which would be good money for them, 100,000, and let them triage the patients. There's 90% of the patients they could see, take care of, and send on their way quickly. Give them a basic antibiotic. They could set bones. They can throw sutures. But they can't do that. And hospitals can't hire them. It's just stupid. When these guys have tons of experience doing it under fire on a field of combat, saving lives, they could do the very same thing in ERs. But they can't. because the law doesn't allow. Midwives. It's hard to find a midwife if you want to have your baby at home. So there are all sorts of impediments to the supply of medical care put in place by government, which keeps the price even higher, makes access even more limited. So get the insurance companies out as the middleman, expand the availability of qualified practitioners, allow schools to, start up med schools or PA schools or SA schools. Any hospital with 600, 800 beds could easily become a good teaching hospital. There are tons of doctors or semi-retired doctors that would make great teachers. This is not a terribly, terribly complex or difficult concept. Welcome back.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Well, there was a little issue with the cats. One's trying to get the other. I'm trying to prevent the issue.
Where are the guard dogs?
On the other side of the fence. There's a gate between my office and the rest of the house. So, yeah.
But my goal would be to expand the delivery of healthcare while lowering the cost. As I mentioned, the three most regulated industries are the most opaque, the most complex, the most expensive, the most bureaucratic, as well as highly regulated. Now compare that to industries that aren't regulated. Computers. What's happened to the price and quality and availability of computers over the past 30, 40 years? They've gotten better and better and cheaper, particularly for performance. I remember I bought my first Mac.
Shit. Wait. Okay. Where are they? Can you grab them?
Who, me? Grab what?
The JFK files just dropped.
Oh, well, I mean, they're going to be 20,000 pages. There's no way to go through those. We'll have to wait and let some other people do the reading. But the main thing I'd be interested in is, are there any redactions?
Yeah, that's going to be the big shit show right there.
Yeah, Trump said the other day, let's not redact it. He said, I don't see the need for any redactions. Let the people see, let the people decide.
Is that up to Patel?
To what?
Is that up to Patel?
Cash
Patel?
I don't know if it's the FBI releasing them or the DOJ.
CIA.
FBI is under the DOJ, so ultimately it's Blondie.
Bondi.
Not Blondie, Bondi.
Bondi.
Yeah, there's no
Who is a
L in
blondie?
there. Sorry, yeah.
She's blonde. It's okay. I'm sure AI will be just somewhat true. I bet AI can probably figure it out.
Yeah, but AI, it has to be put on the web, then AI will have to read through it first. So
true.
I don't know what form they're being released or what.
Well, I am going to go off script a little bit here. There is a script for me anyway. Like the auto pen. You've heard this with Trump and Biden and the pardons and all that stuff, correct?
Yep.
That Biden signed all the pardons, auto pen, blah, blah, blah. Auto pen, okay, whatever. I think that's fine. But Chat GPT and Grok disagreed on the auto pen. I would love to see Chat GPT and Grok in like a podcast setting and compete with each other on information.
We could do that one night,
Regard.
just call them both up, put them
Can
on the
we?
screen and just play 20 questions. That might be fun to do.
It might be fun to do. I like it.
Yeah, I have been leaning more and more towards Grok in terms of completeness of answers. There are some things that ChatGPT just still won't answer. Now, I haven't played much with the
Really?
latest iteration, but it seems to be more restricted than Grok.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if you've watched the latest Joe Rogan Elon Musk interview because they tend to do it often now. It's becoming a thing. And Elon had like sassy Grok
Yeah.
in the interview, and she's a mess. That one's a hot mess. I
Sassy Grok.
mean,
Yeah.
she was like, "Oh yeah." It was in a female voice, and she was like, "I really don't give a shit what you think about, da da da." I was like, "Well, damn." And she was talking to Elon and Joe. She was like, "Oh, Joe Rogan, that ivermectin or horse wormer eating piece of crap, whatever." I mean, it was just like, what the fuck?
And
It
Elon's
was
thinking, I
hilarious.
paid
It was
$20
like,
billion for this.
yeah, and she's like, "I'm supposed to be impressed by Joe Rogan." It was hilarious. Just saying.
We ought to do that
Okay,
some night and play 20
we got
questions with
to.
the two.
Okay, the JFK files are in PDF from what you can see. Cool. But okay, another thing, as far as the auto pen thing, I really don't give a crap. That can be a whole nother issue in and of itself. But did Joe Biden know that he was pardoning those people? Did he
No,
have any awareness of it? That's the
no.
issue, in my opinion. I mean, am I wrong?
And it doesn't matter if it's not his signature. Doesn't matter. That signature was forged, and a forged signature is never legally binding.
If he didn't know, but how can they prove that? Is there a way to prove it?
Yeah. Hold
How?
on.
Because all the J6 documentation, everything, I mean, it was like Enron. It's all been destroyed.
Yeah, sign your name 6 times
Mhm.
and see if any of those perfectly match the other.
Of course not.
They will not. There'll be
Possible.
different gaps in spacing, extent, emphasis, whatever.
Mhm.
Just with natural vibration and variance in human hand movement. So that if the signatures match perfectly,
It was
that's
AutoPen,
how you
correct.
know. Huh?
It was definitely AutoPen,
Yes. Because the
which
signatures, if you take one and overlay it on the other, they match perfectly.
well, some are saying the AutoPen, it doesn't matter. He did it. Obviously, he just hit AutoPen, whatever. I'm like,
No,
that isn't really the issue. The issue is, did he have any idea what was going on, when it was going on, and why, and did he approve it?
that's not even the issue. The issue is, did he sign it? If he did not sign it, it's a forged signature. It's not valid. Doesn't matter if he
Well, that's
sat
what I'm
there and
saying.
watched the machine sign it.
Yeah, but if he didn't
Doesn't
know
matter.
what it was, it
Doesn't matter.
matters.
No,
Really.
doesn't matter. It's a forged signature. It's like if somebody forges your signature, even if you're in the same room while they're doing it, you are not legally bound to that contract. It's
But
not a
AutoPen,
legally enforceable contract.
they're saying AutoPen is.
No,
It's the intent.
no. Who's saying that?
Grok and lots of other people saying they've used AutoPen so many times for
Yeah,
presidential signatures.
auto pen is only for ceremonial awards. Like you get a certificate in the mail signed by the president because you helped his campaign. Well, so did 10,000 other people.
Right.
That's what auto pen is used for.
Okay.
Ceremonial things, not legally binding things. If there is a bill passed by Congress, you'll see the president in his office physically signing that bill.
Okay, auto pen is kind of like using the auto signature on Adobe. If you have your signature saved in Adobe, let's say, and you just like paste it too, and it's considered your signature, that is the same thing as auto pen. Correct, Clay?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was reading, not listening. What'd you say?
If you have your signature saved in like Adobe, which I do, I can sign a document by just saying, okay, put my signature there, and it will do it. That's kind of like auto pen. It's not
Well,
your
yeah.
actual signature, but it's a copy of it.
Well, it's not an like auto pen in that you have to log into your account,
Right.
password protected. You've got your
Mhm.
your not ISP number, but anyway, all that's recorded. And so they can go back and see if you logged into your computer at that time, if you
Right.
accessed the system. So it's secure. Auto pen is just somebody anybody puts a paper down, presses a button, and it signs a paper. It is just a repeating document signer for mass signatures of
Huh.
documents.
There you go. Which is
Now,
what I would use Adobe for. So,
I did ask Grok to summarize the files released tonight. And it doesn't say much. It says, while the release offers fresh insights, such as interviews with Oswald's wife, Marina, and an eerie FBI call warning of his death, no major revelations have emerged to contradict the Warren Commission's conclusion that Oswald acted alone. Historians and experts suggest the files reinforce the established narrative with evidence like single bullet theory holding firm, despite hints of alternative theories, lacking conclusive proof. The unredacted nature of the release fulfills a transparency push, but it's not expected to resolve decades-long conspiracy debates.
so that's just thus far.
Right. Um,
But Melissa, yes, I think it's an electronic signature. It's a thing that does the thing for you without you doing the thing. It's not a wet signature. It's not, and I've seen so many Gen Zers ask what a wet signature is today. Moffat, can you explain to Gen Z what a wet signature is?
I don't know.
It's a pen. It's a pen. You take a
Oh,
pen and you sign yourself. It's called wet.
um,
Hmm.
okay. Asked Grok about auto pen, and
Hmm.
it's saying the legal validity of an auto pen hinges on intent and authorization. The person whose signature is being reproduced authorizes the use of the auto pen and intends for it to represent their approval or agreement. Courts have typically upheld its enforceability. For
See?
example, under the Uniform Code governs commercial transactions in the U.S., a signature is defined broadly as any symbol executed or adopted with present intention to adopt or accept in writing. The key is that's saying that only if the president is there authorizing it,
With the intent of what the
it's
document
valid.
says. Hmm.
It's valid.
That's where I'm saying I think his intent, he had no idea.
And he wasn't there for, I forget, 6 of the signatures in DC on that day. He was vacationing. I forget where, but I can find it relatively quickly.
Wasn't he in
So
the
he wasn't
rainforest
even
or
there.
something somewhere?
Huh? He was at the beach
Wasn't he
somewhere. I don't know if it's
in the
Delaware or down in
rainforest?
Miami.
Okay.
So again, there has to be some way to verify that the president specifically was there and intended to use the auto pen to sign. Maybe his hand had surgery. I don't know. But for documents that were signed without his, the way I read this, without his specific authorization, would not be valid. So we'll
So
see.
that's going to be the issue. And do you think that people who are vaccine injured deserve an explanation from Fauci, or at least an investigation on Fauci?
Well, they can still investigate.
But they
And
couldn't
if you've
charge
been
him.
granted, they can't legally charge him. They can't charge him. But they can now compel him to testify because he can no longer claim the Fifth Amendment because he can't
I don't
be
think people
prosecuted.
just want the truth. I think they want him to burn in HE double hockey sticks because of what
Yeah, but
he did.
if the pardon holds, that'll never
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
But he
Right.
still can be compelled to testify. And if he lies, he still can be charged with perjury. Anything he
go.
does after illegal after the pardon is not covered by the pardon.
Do you think that his ego is so big that he would lie to protect himself?
Don't know. I mean, it would be tempting, but he'd also be risking jail. And there's going to be a lot of other people testifying, a lot of
But
other
he's been
evidence
yeah.
introduced.
But
So,
he's been so smug about all this.
yes. Yes. So,
True. Can they though?
I don't think so. I think a pardon covers all crimes committed within the jurisdiction of the U.S. While I'm on Grok,
All
let's see.
I'm going to take some tinkle time. Be right back.
All right. Does federal pardon cover potential state charges? No. A federal pardon does not cover potential state charges. Isn't that interesting? Federal pardon only applies to federal offenses. Crimes against federal laws are committed in federal jurisdiction. So I stand corrected on that. Yeah, governors can pardon for a state. I've always been under the impression that a presidential pardon covers all things, like Nixon. No state charged him for breaking and entering, kind of thing, or conspiracy, which are state crimes. There were people who committed murder, which is a state offense, who've been pardoned by the president and gotten out of jail. So, I'm kind of curious how he can pardon people for past state offenses, but the state can still charge. I don't know. That's a good question for a lawyer. That's a good question. I don't know. Well, an interesting night. The JFK files are released, which, so far, no major new revelations apparently have come out or surfaced, according to Grok. We'll see. I believe some of the attorney generals of the states may go after him if the pardon holds. I hope they go after him anyway. There were many things, such as masks and the lockdowns, which we now have conversations and emails, which he admitted before implementing them that they didn't work. and yet he still went ahead and pressed it on everybody, guilted everybody he could into doing it, and repeatedly indicated that it was um, backed, quote unquote, by the science, that this is what people needed to do to protect themselves when they were ultimately injuring themselves. And he knew it. Um, I just, I, I just don't have anything but contempt for the guy. That whole COVID mess. Missouri certainly has had relatively active AGs. Texas is another state. Um, those two would probably be the leading. There's some others in the South and the Midwest that have been a little active, but um, the thing is that a lot of these revelations have just really come out in the past 3, 4, 5, 6 months. And to do something like that takes, investigations take a long time. Somebody was asking me today about, where some of these people are going to be charged. And I'm like, to do a thorough investigation, may take 6 months or a year. And then you've got to take it to the grand jury, present it to them, and get them to issue, the writ. Then you can charge them, arrest them. But that's a time-consuming process. The wheels of justice turn slowly, but they grind fine. I hope so. I would like to see, I'd like for him to have his day in court. I'm not going to absolutely presume his guilt, trying not to anyway. But I think he needs his day in court, and I'll just go with that. Interesting day. Learned a couple things I did not know. I got to admit, I kind of was hoping the JFK files would have a little bit more juice in them, just because there had been so much effort to conceal them and keep them buried. I think everybody was kind of expecting some, one conspiracy theory or another to be confirmed. Doesn't sound like it's much to do about anything. So that's a little disappointing. Speaking about disappointments, I guess it depends on your stance. The markets today resumed their downward trend. Yesterday, the market was all hopeful that QE would begin again. Free money, cheap money for the banks, which is how you get the market to do a 30 or 40% return when GDP is 1%. We'll see what happens. Kash Patel made it sound like it was a big deal when he was talking about the files. He did. Several people have. And I'm kind of curious as to what they saw or were talking about. Now that the files have been released, that ought to be a question asked of them. It's a legitimate question. You stated this. Well, what in the files that have been released made you think that, see that? I'm just mildly curious. Well, what the hell were you talking about? The market. A little bit haywire today. The Nasdaq dropped almost 2% today, about 1.7%. The Dow was down a little less than 1%. S&P was down a little bit more than 1%. So modestly healthy drops, adding to the overall trend the past month. The thing is, some of the numbers coming out are mixed. like housing starts actually rose this past month. So more houses are being started than were expected. Is that a good thing? You know, kind of a sign the economy may start growing again. Inflation, the numbers have certainly, tamped down. Oil and gas prices have dropped 10%, 15%, which is pretty damn significant. Usually the sign of a, greatly slowing economy. China's economy is still, in the dumps. There's some evidence that Europe's economy is still slowing. Obviously, the U.S. economy. The U.S. economy, we know that last year, 85% of all the jobs created were government jobs or areas paid for by government, like education and healthcare. 85%. So I've been saying chaos is coming. Well, I still believe that because, the administration is trying to turn an aircraft carrier in the middle of an ocean from a government sponsored economy to a private sector economy. And that's going to cause some problems. It's going to cause some chaos, particularly for those who have vested interest in the government funding. A lot of those jobs are going to vaporize. A lot of them have already vaporized. Now, the speed with which that can continue, obviously the courts, many of the courts are trying to step in and stop them. Like, the administration is going to have to come up with something to rehire 24,000 probationary workers that they laid off. Well, a judge in D.C. said, you can't lay them off. Even if they're probationary, you didn't have any reason to. Anyway, don't get me started on that. So don't know how fast this turnaround is going to be. Now, like I mentioned the other night, we've seen 30 different companies announce moving production to America from Mexico, from Canada, from China, or greatly expanding American production facilities, or starting American facilities back up. One of the three. And it's like, I don't know, 1.7, $1.8 trillion. And that doesn't even include the Saudis have talked about investing $600 billion in manufacturing in the US. And that's only in the first month and a half. So there are signs that capital is starting to flow back into the US. And some of those projects, Apple announced a $500 billion expansion of American manufacturing. That won't be in 1 year. That will be over several years, maybe 3, maybe 5, not really sure. But still, better here than China, Vietnam, Indonesia, India. It's good to see money flowing back into the U.S. Some of that may even be going
Sorry,
into
I couldn't hear.
the U.S. stock market. No problem. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay.
I think you're right. I feel like they are just leaving the ones out that are. There's no reason they would get rid of the files or release something that is just blasé.
Well, from what Grok responded, there's nothing in there that the New York FBI would hesitate to release.
So then, why would they? That's my issue.
Yeah, that's the
I feel like
question.
we're not getting them all.
Yeah, we were talking about that while you were gone. That
Sorry.
Jane mentioned that Cash had made it. Let's see this comment right above. Cash had made it sound like it was a big deal when he was talking about the files. Well, nothing in the files released tonight sounds like a big deal. So to me, tomorrow, Cash ought to be quizzed heavily on what made you say what you said, because there was nothing in these files that, was any big deal at all. So what did you see that's not in these files? Or what did you see that we're not seeing? So I think
who
there's
didn't
some.
release what they should have or were supposed to, or
Yeah, I think we're going to see some serious questions. directed his way, and rightfully so. Trump said they were going to release the files with no redactions. Well, I took that as releasing all of the files.
All the files. Yeah.
All the files. So with no redactions. So let's get it done. And it may be.
Let's do it.
This may be everything. I don't know. That's disappointing.
Come on.
I'm not saying it is. I'm trying not to presume guilt till I know something else is going on. It kind of appears that something else is going on, but I don't know it for certain. But there's some questions that need to be asked and answered.
I feel you. Now, Amazon.com, shop, Profit on Money, all the things we use. If you guys use something that you buy typically, send us an email. We'll add it to the shop. It doesn't cost you anything more. It helps us keep doing what we're doing, and we would really appreciate it. Like I said, it doesn't cost you anything more. It just gives us a little bit of credit, and that's it. So if you buy anything normally or automatically or whatever, and we try to add everything. I know Jane sent me a few things, more things she talked about for us to add to the shop, and I can do that tomorrow. But yeah, help the show out. Because we love you guys. We want to keep doing this. Giving you the information that you want. Talking about random stuff sometimes stuff that's really beneficial. We hope it's all beneficial, but we want to make the world a more informed place, especially as far as finance is concerned, your personal finances.
Yeah, I'm just, sitting here trying to go through, get caught up a little bit on some of the news, see if there's anything that grabs my attention. But the big news is obviously the splashdown of the SpaceX Dragon.
That was very cool.
And then the JFK files, which so far it's kind of like a big nothing burger, which is
Melissa,
disappointing.
Send me a link for that. Send me a link for that, and I will pop it up there.
Puggy toothbrushes. We're just going to have a pug section.
All the puggy things.
That's just kind of cute. Yeah, I don't see a whole lot actually of anything else. I keep hoping that something else is going to come out on JFK. Somebody will see something or notice something. But yeah, so far nothing. I'm wondering in the back of my head, I saw where the Mag 7, we talked about the Mag 7 in the NASDAQ market, how they were responsible for, 80% of the increase in the NASDAQ, 90% of the increase in the NASDAQ over the past year. Just blew up. Just absolutely, stupid. Well, as NASDAQ has been dropping, the Mag 7 have been taking it on the chin. As of a couple of days ago when the market dropped, the Mag 7 dropped a little over $800 billion in value. Almost $1 trillion in value. That's not a bad day. You do that a couple days and that will equalize some. I mean, in one day you saw like MicroStrategy dropped 14%. Tesla was down, 8 or 9. Palantir's been getting hammered. It was down 8.
Bitcoin's been getting hammered.
Yeah, that's MicroStrategy.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Amazon, Netflix, Microsoft, Meta, Nvidia, they were all down, 4% in a
Do you
day.
know what's up? Do you know what's up?
Gold.
VIX.
Oh, well, yeah,
That's the
VIX.
one that Clay didn't think about it as much as I do because he's like, it's just a thing. But if VIX is up, almost everything else is down. That has been consistent. And if VIX is down, almost everything else is up. That's the volatility index. He taught me this. Great bit of
Yes.
advice. That is
And
one of the top things. Go
I've
ahead.
traded it about 30 times over the past 8 years.
Have you?
Yeah. So I do think about it a fair amount.
But I have at the top, and I'm like, if it's way up, I'm not looking at anything else. I'm like, okay, everything else is down. I'm not even going there. I'm good.
Question, how do you find the Amazon shop when you're in the app?
You can't. You can click on the link and go straight to the Amazon shop on your app and buy it from there. I have done that. Or you can do it through your web browser and log in to Amazon that way.
Yeah, if you go,
Let me grab the link here. Hang on.
where am I? If you go to the header on our site and click on it, the description, you'll see to purchase items mentioned, there's the link. So I think that'll work in the app. But it's just /shop/Moffat on Money. Can you save it like you
I'm
can
not
on Google
sure.
sources?
I'm not sure.
Don't know. Never tried it.
But there's the link, and it's in the thing, and I need to put it everywhere else. Let me put it here.
Yeah, and it's just a simple and easy way to help support the channel. And again, we do appreciate y'all being with us. We appreciate your support. What? Anybody have any questions? I was talking earlier about last year, 85% of all jobs, all growth in the economy was government funded. Contrast that to, I forgot to mention, contrast that to the period 2017 through 2020. The government accounted for 9% of the U.S. job growth. The private sector accounted for 91%. So that's kind of huge. Now, in February, of course, you've seen DOGE announce a lot of layoffs and hiring freezes with the government. But in February, last month, the public sector grew 7% and the private sector accounted for 93% of all job growth. And jobs surprised to the upside. That was another interesting thing. So inflation's been surprising to the downside. Jobs surprised to the upside. Housing starts surprised to the upside. So what's going on in the economy? Are we headed toward a recession? It's mixed. The data is mixed. There's not a clear picture right now. I know I'm still staying, most in cash, maybe a little gold, still holding on to the Bitcoin. Of course, I've been doing that for a decade. But the data right now is mixed. Also, I have not seen Buffett or Druckenmiller shift into equities. That's something I generally track relatively closely. Two of the most successful money managers in history. Melissa, okay, I can click on the link you put in the chat, but not the one in
And I
the
guess YouTube? I don't know.
okay. You're able to follow the shop when you're signed into an Amazon account. Okay. Well, that'll help. Yeah, Amazon doesn't make the stores necessarily easy.
No. No.
Um, I
I mean,
think they do it.
I thought the affiliate link was done, and so when I moved, of course, I ordered a bunch of stuff. And Clay was like, "Did you order it from the store? Add it to the store?" And I was like, "I thought we weren't doing that anymore." And he was like, "Because we need more volume." I was like, "Oopsie, I'm so sorry. Didn't know. Whoops."
Yeah, the volume helps Amazon to promote it a little bit more.
Mhm.
So, that's one reason why we've tried to get, we're both
Yeah.
have been relatively busy and had some distractions over the past few months. So,
Mhm.
we haven't been able to pay the channel the attention that it needs to continue growing.
We're we're getting there. Yeah, we're getting back on track soon. Very
So,
soon.
that's really kind of where we're headed, trying to build the channel and get it a little bit more stable. Seems you can't search for shops or wish list. Yeah,
Well,
Amazon
that's crappy.
is yeah, you know, Amazon doesn't promote them unless they have to.
No. Yep.
They have very high standards in terms of what they will help or encourage or whatever. So, we're working on getting there. Let's see. I think I meant, I was talking about public sector versus private sector. The new Treasury Secretary, Scott Bassett, was recounting on a news show. I forget who was interviewing him. Might have been on MSNBC. I'm not sure, but he was talking about a conversation he had with President Trump, and Trump asked him, how do we get this under control? How do we do it without killing the economy? Bassett said basically that he had tried he'd been thinking about that for 18 months. So apparently Trump made it clear to him, a year ago, more than a year ago, that he was going to be the Treasury Secretary if he won. And Bassett, to me, made a very startling comment. He said 25% of GDP goes through area code 202. 1/4 of the entire economy goes through Washington, D.C. That's huge. Historically, that's utterly massive. And so, when I see trying to turn that aircraft carrier around, if you're not familiar, aircraft carriers can turn around in the ocean, but it takes them 6 to 8 miles to do a 180-degree turn. It takes a lot of room. And, that's kind of the way you look at the economy. You start making changes and pulling and tugging and trying to turn it. Well, it's still going to take a long time to take effect. So I think there'll be some pain in this transition, particularly for those people that have vested interest in the previous structure. But I really believe 2 years from now, the economy will be far better off. And that's assuming, I always hate to assume, but that's assuming that they're able to get the deficit under control, that they're able to cut the deficit spending, which right now is at, I don't know, $2.5 trillion. Last quarter, the fourth quarter of 2024, the deficit was at $860 billion, which comes to about 3.4 trillion. Let me get all my zeros right. That's half the budget. $7 billion budget, $7 trillion budget, and we're borrowing 3.5. Keep in mind, we only collect like 2.4 in taxes. Defense spending is $800 billion. So the debt is nearly 5 times what we spend on defense. That is simply not sustainable. That's how you impoverish a nation. That's how you get double-digit inflation. So I believe it needs to be done. I don't think it's necessarily going to be easy or smooth. So that's just a, kind of a point to throw out. Now, some people think that Trump is trying to crash the stock market. My own view is I don't think he intentionally is trying to crash it. I think he just realizes it needs to happen. There's nothing they have done to intentionally undermine stocks or equities or the economy in the U.S. except cutting government fraud, waste, growth, etc. But that to me is not really an attack on the stock market. The reality is, and I've alluded to this before, is that the Treasury this year, due to what I would say was poor decisions from the previous administration, has to refund or borrow new around 14 to 15 trillion dollars this year, 2025. The normal amount of borrowing is around 3, maybe 4 trillion. So you've got a huge amount of supply of new debt coming out, 5 times, 6 times the normal. 5 times the normal. Plus, you've got some of the main foreign buyers, Japan, China, Saudi Arabia, who are out of the market, no longer buying treasuries, and in fact are selling some. So they're increasing the supply already. So bottom line, they need to get interest rates down so that they can have a chance to afford this massive amount of debt and find some demand for it. We'll see. I don't envy the Treasury Secretary. He's been put in an incredibly, incredibly difficult position. They've talked about floating 100-year zero coupon bonds, trading them for current Treasury debt with certain sovereign investors, certain countries that hold a lot of the debt. If they could do that, that would help. Because on a zero coupon bond, there's no interest payment. The interest just accrues like a treasury bill. You buy a treasury bill at $950. You don't receive a separate interest payment. But in a month, you get $1,000. So the interest is the difference between what you paid and what you receive when it matures. That's a zero coupon bond. Doesn't have a separate interest payment being made. So that would relieve our, short-term interest payments. That would cut the interest payments greatly, which would be a big help to the budget, trying to balance the budget. Now, if Trump switches to tariffs on all imports and eliminates income tax, that's probably more chaos for a little while. I think ultimately it will benefit, the average American, particularly the poor and the middle class. You'll see prices go up 3, 4, 5%, but your disposable income will increase 10, 15, 20%. That's a good trade-off. So people will have more to save, they'll have more to invest, they'll have more to spend. That would be a huge boost to the economy, as well as help keep interest rates down. Now, can he pull it off? Can he get Congress to go along with it? I don't know. We'll see.
Hope so.
But there's a lot of ifs, ands, and buts in the air. There's a lot of uncertainty in the air. Uncertainty is risk. So to me, that's another reason to keep my money in cash till I am more certain or more confident in the future trends. Now, that very well may mean I may miss some upside. The market may turn around and I may miss some upside. I would rather miss a few points on the upside, a few percent on the upside, versus having the risk of a 20% drop. And the Nasdaq's already in correction territory, down 10%, 11%. So it realistically could drop 20 or 30% if the economy really starts to grind down, which is a distinct possibility. We'll see. But for me right now, there's just too much potential chaos, too much potential risk. If some people are buying, as they call it, taking advantage of the dip, they may do well. And if they do, I'm happy for them. But for me, in my position, my view, what I see going on in the economy and the markets, I'm still cautious. And so I'm still going to take more of a, defensive position. I get, 5% in interest on the T-bills, which is not bad. And occasionally I will do a few things. I may buy some VIX calls that Ellen was alluding to earlier. Or I may, increase my holdings in gold. Gold performs well when people panic. So if that's a potential, if that's a risk, then gold is something that you probably would want to hold for a while. And there's a lot of different ways to buy it. You can buy a it's an ETF. It's like buying a stock, gold ETF. You can buy gold futures. Obviously, you can go out and buy physical gold, but I don't really recommend that for a couple reasons. One, it's an area where there's a lot of fraud because it's easy to pass a bar off as 24 karat gold when it's really only 18 or 20 or 22. So I'd be real careful buying physical gold. Melissa, as it is St. Patrick's Day week, do you think leprechauns will ever move from gold to Bitcoin? Fair question. When I think of St. Patrick's Day, all I can think of is it's just another day to celebrate a great Scot. And as all of you know, St. Patrick, the patron saint of Ireland, was Scottish. So I find that mildly amusing that Ireland's savior is Scottish. So I never hesitate in letting the Irish remember that fact. But do I think leprechauns will ever move from gold to Bitcoin? No, I think they like the shiny stuff. It looks kind of dead sexy there at the end of the rainbow.
Hey, sorry, I'm
Um,
doing things.
no, I'm sitting here, trying to look up some other stuff, see what else is going on, see if I see anything else that's, terribly interesting. Um, do y'all have any questions or comments? This actually is supposed to be y'all's night, so
But we
um,
get, kind of done
yeah, step on up if you've
doing
got
our
some
things.
questions, comments. And I apologize. I usually have a little bit more prepared, but today was just one of those days. Um, I walked in the door, what, 6 after?
I think so.
Somewhere around there,
I
7 after or
mean, and
whatever.
I was still having issues.
Yeah. So any questions?
I'm getting all the things from all the people and trying to add them to the store at the moment.
Oh, okay.
So please speak.
Yeah, sorry. I'm trying to read. Um, Another interesting thing I've seen is some of the Tesla owners are having their cars firebombed, keyed. That saw a video of one individual scratching a swastika into the side of the car.
Really?
Yeah, I'm like, what gets into people? And the interesting thing is I think, traditionally most of the Tesla owners are probably Democrats, environmentally conscious, probably more left leaning. But, why? Why? Because you don't like how many people go around keying Volkswagens? I
No
mean,
one?
Hitler started that company. Does that count for anything? And you could go on down the line. There's not a company out there that is pure in all regards. People aren't pure in all regards. Everybody has their skeletons, their evil, their problems, their past pains, whatever. But I just don't understand the absolute violence from people who say that they're tolerant. From people who a year ago were willing to mandate EVs for everybody. Now they're going out and
Yeah,
physically doing them harm. I
because
just I
Elon
don't
was their hero for green energy.
yeah. And a lot of people are ditching their Teslas, which, is okay. That's their right. They have the right
Mhm.
not to buy what they don't want to buy. They have a right to sell whatever they own that they want to sell. That's a free market. I'll defend anybody's right to do that. But trying to destroy somebody else's property because you have a political difference, that to me is just that to me is just insane. I just don't
Yeah.
understand those people.
And
Um,
burning up burning up, their charging stations, that's just not right.
yeah, it's like Melissa said, vandalism is never cool. We should, in a free society, if we value freedoms, we should be willing and adamant about protecting other people's liberties and freedoms. And every right has a responsibility. My ability to speak freely is limited in that I can't slander or, intentionally lie about somebody else. I can't defame their character.
Mhm.
So the old adage is, and I think lawyers kind of hate this, but I think it's relatively simple and clear, is that my rights end where your nose begins. But up until that point, I'm good, and I would support people's right to speak out and argue about not buying Teslas, or you don't agree with what Musk is doing. That is perfectly your right, and I would defend that right for you to argue that reasonably, rationally. Some of these Karens that are getting in people's face, uh, or assaulting others because they're wearing a MAGA hat. Come on, people. We can do better as a society. We need to be able to engage people with different views and sit down
Mhm.
and reason together and discuss these views. We may not end up agreeing on all of them, but at least try to understand. I oftentimes talk about and I mentioned it, I think, once before on the show, but I kept the company of this liberal hippie pinko commie socialist yoga master,
I remember.
and
Goofball.
we dated for several months. She even taught me into hot yoga. Anyway, story for another time. But the thing was, we sat down and when we first met and talked about some of our differences, we found out that we had the same goals. We wanted to reduce poverty and suffering. We valued freedom. We just had different paths to getting there. But she was a great person, a sweet soul, still love her, you know. Um, but we had different paths, but that was okay because we realized, in the important things we were agreed. So, Melissa, love hot yoga. Melissa, it is all yours. you are you are welcome to it.
I
I
heard that
was
about that whole thing, and I was like, "Oh, this is not going to go well." As far as the story,
yeah, it's just I'm not that flexible. I sweat easily, which is good because I tolerate the heat. I grew up in the hot South. I tolerate the heat pretty well, but there is a profuse amount of perspiration, and trying to make some of those shifts and moves and whatever. I was muttering under my breath the whole time, which was providing some entertainment to those around me. But let's put it this way: I only did hot yoga once.
I can only imagine.
Yeah. Not my gift, not my stretch. My body just doesn't move in that way. So, it was an interesting experience. I went to a couple different yoga classes and one of them was hot yoga. Yeah. More power
That's
to
good
you,
for you.
Melissa.
Yeah.
And it's cute. I've seen some, videos of women doing yoga at home and their dog will try to imitate the moves. I think that's cute as hell. But I'm not doing it. That's why it's called yoga practice. Yeah, I've heard that before. The way I look at it is everybody has their gifts, and that is not my gift. It really if I would do it and stay with it, I freely acknowledge that it would probably be good for me and help increase my flexibility. But yeah, it's just part of it is it's just damned embarrassing. I'm sitting there just kind of pseudo in awe looking at, some of the flexibility and the way some of these people bend. And it's generally females. And I'm sitting there thinking, there is no way in hell I will ever be able to do that. So I'm Scottish. How many Scottish gymnasts have you seen in the international competitions? You never see Scottish gymnasts. We are not built that way. Now, you need somebody to put their head through a door. I'm your guy. I can do that. I've done that. But some
She
of the
believes
yoga,
in you, Clay.
we all have our gifts. Thank you, Melissa. Love you too. But yeah.
Okay. I've got about 15 things added to the store, and I have about 15 more to
Well, cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank y'all. We do appreciate it. Keep her busy.
Yes.
E-Train
Yes, they're
needs
keeping
some good
me
work.
very busy. Do it. I'm sorry.
I was saying
Axel
you
says
need
what?
some work.
Jackass says what? Y'all, I'm gonna be busy all night. All right. Sweet.
And we also ought to start
That's
getting some new videos up as well. I've got a couple to start shooting, little shorts or whatever they call them, and then E-Train will be putting some up as well before long. So we'll try to bring some
it's
life
funny.
back
There's
to the
so
channel.
many. We will. There's
And
so many, and I'm just like, which one? How? What? Like, go ahead.
I was just going to say we do need to do the movie night again. Melissa suggested that a couple times, and
Yes,
we
we
haven't
do.
done that in several months. So
We do like
maybe
a new movie though.
like what?
I don't know. Does anybody watch anything at the theater anymore? I don't know. Like,
I went.
I started like the series, an old series. I just started called Seals. Love it.
I went and saw Homestead in the theaters. That was
Did you?
it's kind of an apocalyptic movie.
But because I'm watching that series.
Yeah.
Is it the same thing or is it different?
Yeah, the movie was just the first. It was a 2-hour long first episode introduction, and then they
So it was the
have
first 2 episodes.
yeah, and then they have another
Okay.
2 or 3 episodes up, if I remember. I watched them all as well. And that is
I've
to be
gotten through the
continued.
first 2.
I think
I've
that's
gotten through all those already.
yeah. But in terms of, new movies, maybe we need to do y'all have some suggestions on movies? We'll put a poll up. And that's another thing I wanted to start doing,
Oh,
like next week is or last week. I was going to have a series of polls trying to get y'all more involved because we want you involved. We want your input. We want your thoughts and comments. And so, last week we were going to have about, I think, 4 polls actually. But with E-Train chickening out on us, she was the one going to put them up.
was checking out. My interwebs was gone. It was
Same thing.
gone. It was goodbye
Same
gone.
thing.
Gone, girl,
We
gone.
can, we can
We
all
can all
watch
watch
the original
original
series of
series of Magnum. Yeah.
My mom used to love that show. And I actually like Tom Selleck. He's a good guy. He's one of the good guys in Hollywood.
No, I was not. There was a really terrible storm and I had no internet, no interwebs. It was not working anywhere. I
Yeah, even their
apologize.
phone didn't work. The tower went out as well. So hopefully you're
Nothing I could do.
back. You're supposed to be getting an improved service, I hope.
Oh, I'm trying. It's hard when you're in the middle of freaking nowhere to do anything. I am actually like wired in. If you can see that.
Was that the
From
booster
my
they were talking about?
No, I haven't gotten that yet because that's still on a different address. the whole thing, but it's actually
Yeah.
wired into the thing that is wireless, which I know makes no sense, but yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome to the club, sister. I feel you. It is what it is, but it's better tonight than it was the last time I was on last week.
It's really a great show. There's a lot of depth to it. I
Oh, you
never
mean
thought
Muffin on
about
Money? Or wait, Magnum PI.
yeah, and
Exactly.
I never thought about Magnum PI having depth. That's an interesting comment. I'll have to think about that. I mean, obviously, it's been a long time since I've watched it, but um,
Yeah, right.
that's why we love Melissa.
Yeah. Oh, I did it, and then you did it, and then did it. Okay, great. Yeah. The wind was blowing the way wrong one here, for sure. And I was like, I got nothing.
Well, anybody else have anything they want to throw out? It has
Yes, I have a
been
million things to do right now.
yeah, it has been a
I have tons of
relatively
things to add.
quick couple of hours, but we're nearing
Has it
the
been
end
2
of
hours yet?
our
Almost, yeah.
slot. Um, so
Yep. I
anybody
think I'm
have
getting internet connection issues
yeah, you
'cause I can't get
kinda
there we go.
break up just a tad. It really
Alright,
does. I
keep on.
rewatched it for the first time maybe 4 years ago. Interesting. Never thought about that. Is it still owned and available? I mean, it was
It's
like a
always
4, 5,
available.
6 year series.
It's always available,
Is it?
either on Netflix or something, yeah.
Well, it's
Alright, I'm
kind of
gonna lose my
interesting.
interwebs.
I don't I don't know if we wanna do something on a series that has that many episodes, it'd be hard for everybody to watch.
Yeah, watch 2 in a week. That's not hard.
It is. I'll find where it's streaming and send you the link. Okay. Well, we'll do that and maybe
Sure.
do it over multiple months, do a year per night, something.
That's what I'm talking. We could pick a couple of episodes.
Yeah, that might be interesting. And
If you
I
if
like some
one
of the old shows.
in a couple weeks or a month if you can't watch 2 episodes. Come on.
Past month, I would not have been able to do it. Now my schedule is starting to free up a little bit. I've
And
got
you're
to
also
catch
not in
up some,
Prague.
yeah, or CFA or a couple other things going on, but I've got some catching up to do, but hopefully we'll be in some semblance of order in a week or so.
And we're trying something new tonight that you guys don't know about because it's backstage, but we are keeping Clay this studio open for every Tuesday. So the link doesn't change. So I don't know how that's going to work. I know we're going to end stream. I'm not sure how we're going to do it again next week, but so everybody knows we'll be here next week, next Tuesday. But it's going to be the same link for the same studio.
Okay.
And I think I can just do that by just copying it and pasting it, of course. But this is going to be a new thing for us.
Yeah, just to be safe, if you try the link and it doesn't work, um,
Let us know.
go to YouTube and we will have created a new stream, a new link, and it'll be posted on there. So
Yes.
we'll try it with the existing link, but if something happens, by 7:05, 7:07, we will have a new link posted on YouTube
Everywhere.
under the community page.
Everywhere.
Yeah, posted
Everywhere.
everywhere. So if you have problems, just give us a few extra minutes and we'll get it straightened up.
Absolutely. Y'all are so
We're
funny.
we're getting some serious Magnum support here. Melissa,
Magnum,
Melissa, Melissa.
Murder, She Wrote, Crossover. Nobody's gonna mess with Magnum and Jessica. No, 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 they're not.
You know, I had to watch those shows because that's what mom wanted to watch. Dad got to
His
watch
mom,
Hee
not
Haw on Saturday
mom.
nights, and then mom kinda controlled the TV the rest of the nights, but, yeah, that Magnum and Murder, She Wrote were regulars.
Mhm.
I still watch Murder, She Wrote.
That's
Alright,
awesome.
well, we'll
Pugnum
do
PI
Magnum.
bandanas. Oh my goodness. Okay. We're gonna have to figure that out in the store. All right, y'all. It is time. And we got to figure out how to do this to end the stream without or lead the. I guess we. Okay, we're gonna figure it out. Y'all have a good night. We love y'all.
Y'all, we do. We appreciate you being with us tonight. Enjoyed it. Good to see y'all. Good to see the members of the family. And we'll look forward to seeing y'all Saturday night.
Absolutely.
Right. Blessings to y'all. Y'all have a good rest of the week and be there Saturday night, 7:00 or 7:05
You there?
or 7:08.
Mhm. Whenever.
We'll see
We'll
y'all.
figure it out.
Y'all have a good night.